Is it English and Spanish? Huh? No? Where's the other book? So this would be, we do have them. This one's okay. English. You want one of these?
Yeah.
So, and I think these are in English too, huh? Should I put them some down there? Or
Yeah.
yes?
So we're gonna put it on the table.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We will get started in about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience.
So Eric has them, the speaker cards, right here. He'll collect them and give them tags.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We'd like to get started. Good evening to you. Good evening. May I have everyone's attention? We'd like to get started. First of all, my name is Jonathan Butler. I serve as the chair of the Homelessness and Oversight Commission. And I want to, first of all, acknowledge and thank everyone for coming this evening. We are here this evening because we believe in the power of community voice. We want to hear your voices, and I believe this is an opportunity for your voices to be heard. So tonight is about listening, learning, and then we're going to work together to improve the conditions of those who are unhoused. Now that we ask for you to make public comment, when you offer public comment, we ask that you would fill out a speaker card. This is these green cards here to the best of your ability. So we certainly want to ask for that you write your name. If you don't feel like you want to write your name, at least write the topic that you are wanting to speak on. Now, each commenter will have 3 minutes each, 3 minutes. And if a follow-up is needed, there will be an opportunity for you to put your name and your number on a piece of paper so that we can follow up with those who wish for us to do so. Again, our purpose tonight is to hear from community. Your insights are important. We will also hear from our director, Shereen McSpadden. And then, the commissioners, I'm going to give them an opportunity to share opening remarks, but primarily our goal here is to hear from you. Now, we have to leave at 8 o'clock, okay? So we only have until 8 o'clock. Not because we don't want to hear all of you for as long as possible, and partially we don't want to do that, but we certainly want to hear your voice. But because there are security personnel on site, they do have to leave at 8. So we will wrap our conversation up around 7:50 so that we can honor those who are working. And we certainly want to give a shout out and thanks to our Glide staff under the direction of Gina Frommer, who is unable to be with us, but certainly sends her regards, and all of the AV personnel to make this night happen, and all of those who are security personnel to secure the grounds. We certainly appreciate you when we say thank you. So we're going to proceed in the spirit of listening with mutual respect and open hearts, focused minds, so that we can again, hear the voices, and not only hear your voices, but try to make as much impact as possible. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce and welcome Naima Charles, who is the Senior Director of the Center for Social Justice here at GLIDE, and who will share insights about GLIDE's work and the lived realities of those who are impacted by homelessness in our city. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Naima Charles. I'm the Senior Director at the Center for Social Justice. At GLIDE, some of you may know, we have 3 doors of entry into GLIDE. One is through GLIDE Memorial Church, which we are all in today. The other one is our GLIDE programs, and the third one is the GLIDE Center for Social Justice. This is where we do policy and advocacy and transformational learning and work to transform and work in community. And so we're so grateful to be in partnership with HSH and hosting this community meeting here at GLIDE tonight. As a leading organization in the Tenderloin community, GLIDE has been a collaborator and thought partner to the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing for many years now. GLIDE has had the opportunity to contract with HSH mainly for the work of our walk-in center, which focuses on providing low-threshold access to people experiencing homelessness. Through our walk-in center, clients are able to access problem-solving funds that support clients with family reunification. And we also do DMV ID vouchers as well. Additionally, we offer case management services in a low-barrier setting with respect and care for all of our clients that come through our doors. And then prior to COVID-19 pandemic, GLIDE, in partnership with HSH, was able to directly place clients directly in HSH-funded shelters throughout our city system. Last year, GLIDE launched the Cecil Williams Ambassador Program in partnership with HSH as an effort to support San Francisco's economic homeless revitalization through workforce development opportunities. Our ambassador program is making strides in the Tenderloin by building relationships with community members, service providers, and businesses. Each day, our ambassadors connect people to services, support low-threshold case management, and work tirelessly to make our streets safer and cleaner and more community-focused. Coming up this fall, GLIDE is honored to have been selected as one of the providers for the Traditional Age Youth Health and Wellness Center. And through this and many other opportunities, GLIDE will have the ability to do its part in ensuring that youth who walk into our doors have the resources they need for a better quality of life. Thank you all for coming today, and I will pass it back to Jonathan.
Thank you. Thank you, Naomi. I'm certainly thankful for GLIDE's leadership. And now I'd like to open it up to our commissioners. If you have any brief opening remarks that you'd like to share, you may do so at this time.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Kristen Evans. I serve as the Vice Chair of the Homeless Oversight Commission. I'm really going to keep my remarks very brief because I'm here to listen from you tonight. And I wanted to say I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience. Good to see you. If we haven't met before, I would love to get to know you. I'll be staying until they kick us out at 8, so feel free to approach me afterwards, too. I look forward to meeting new people tonight. Thank you. Kristen Evans.
And just in the spirit of introducing ourselves, I'm Katie Albright, and I just wanted to echo the thanks to Dr. Gina Frommer and the incredible team at GLIDE for hosting this evening tonight. We look forward to listening to and being with you this evening to learn more.
I'm Sharky Laguana. I also wanted to echo my fellow commissioners' thanks to Dr. Frommer and everybody here who's helped make the evening possible. I'm also available to speak with you after the event and look forward to meeting you all. All right.
Thank you. Commissioner Joaquin Guerrero, I'm sorry to say that I will have to leave within an hour, so but please get in touch with the other commissioners if you'd like to speak to me. I'm also make myself available outside of today. But thank you to everybody for being here.
I'm Bevan Dufty, and I thank you for coming out tonight. I look forward to hearing the feedback and input that you have, and I'm grateful for my commissioners and the staff of HSH for being here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from our Executive Director, Shereen McSpadden, who will provide a snapshot of Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing's priorities and plans for the upcoming fiscal year, or whatever she'd like to share.
Like, oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to stand up because I just can't see everyone. So I just want to welcome you and thank you for being here. We are here to hear from you tonight. And I'm also really grateful to the commissioners for making this happen and to Glide for hosting. So as Chair Butler said, I'm Shereen McSpadden. I'm the Executive Director of the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing. Our mission at the department is to make homelessness rare, brief, and one time for people. We know that homelessness is, obviously a huge issue in San Francisco. And right now, we are serving about over 17,000 people on any given night in our shelter, in our housing. And we also know that's not enough. And so, one of the things that we're working to do, always working to do, but particularly right now working to do, is to really understand how do we serve more people with the resources that we have, and how do we think about in ways that we can also improve our system so that people can actually move up and out of our system. It's a work in progress. Things are always way slower than we wish they were, especially when you're dealing with a government entity and a number of different organizations. And so it becomes very challenging. It's also really important, and I've actually been proud of some of the things we've been able to do collectively with the community over the past few years. This year, we're facing, unfortunately, unprecedented budget challenges. We have a lot of challenges from the federal government. We're embroiled in some of those right now because, I think all of you probably know about this, but we don't know that our funding that we've counted on as a sure thing is going to be a sure thing. And so we're trying to figure out, what do we do about that? And what do we do in a city that's also got its own local challenges with funding and state funding? And so I think there are a few priorities that Mayor Lori has that I think are very promising and that can help us overall. So one of them is really right-sizing the current portfolio that we have. So when I say that, I mean all the housing that we have in shelter, to make sure that we're providing the right kind of housing and shelter for people who need it. So one of the things that he is really pushing is a better collaboration between the Department of Homelessness and the Department of Public Health. And part of the reason for that is that we have a lot of people with highly acute needs who need higher levels of service than we have had previously. And we need to make sure those people are getting healed in our system as opposed to getting further traumatized, and that they have access to the tools they need to get to heal and get better and move on with their lives. One of the ways to do that is to draw down more Medi-Cal dollars, and so that's one of the things that we're looking at as we face other cuts in our funding. So you'll see more and hear more about that. We're going to try out some new things in permanent supportive housing where we can really better support people, and we're going to try some new things as we build out our shelter system so that it's a little bit more robust than it currently is. I think we're also really working, and I think you hear about this, Mayor Lori is very interested in kind of reorganizing the street teams that are out engaging with people. And I just want to say the big role for HSH in all of that is really to provide shelter for people and help them get to it, or help them with a bus ticket home if that's what that person wants, help them to get into treatment. That's what our teams are out there to do, and that's our real role within that larger system. So you'll hear a little bit more of that over the next few months. I think the other thing is that we want to really focus on RVs. that may not affect people in the Tenderloin as much, but it definitely is an issue across the city. We're seeing more and more families in RVs. We are seeing definitely people who are working adults in RVs. They're just, housing is too freaking expensive here. And so we see a lot of that, and we want to be able to engage with those communities as well and help them, with the services that they need to move on with their lives. And so those are some of the main things that we're doing this year. We also, in addition to that, are continuing to run a pretty big system of housing and shelter for people. We also really want to focus more in prevention, and we are partnering with a number of foundations on a prevention strategy that hopefully will be a lot bigger than it's been in the past. I mean, one of the best things to do is to prevent homelessness in the first place, and people who don't ever become homeless don't have to deal with all that trauma of being on the streets. So those are some things we're doing. We also continue to think about disproportionality. It's really hard right now, again, with the federal government's ban on certain types of activities, to really think about how we safely work on disproportionality issues in San Francisco, but we absolutely need to do it. When you look at the numbers that we see, 25% of the people experiencing homelessness in San Francisco identify as Black or African American, and yet represent only 5% within the total population. In the Latino community, it's 34% of our overall population, and that community, or those communities, I should say, represent only 16% of the overall population in San Francisco. So there's just huge disproportionality. We also see that with in the LGBTQ populations that we serve. So we have to continue working on that and focusing and basing our work on that in a very intentional way, especially in the face of challenging federal government. So I don't want to talk too much, but those are some of the things that we're working on, and I'm very much here along with our commission to hear what you have to say and welcome your suggestions and your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director McSpadden. Now, we want to give as much time as possible for you to speak. And again, here are your speaker cards, and Eric is over there, who you can fill out those speaker cards and provide Eric with those cards. And if you want to just fill out your name, your organization that's represented, and just the topic that you'd like to discuss, that would be important. Again, each speaker will have 2 minutes, and if there, I said 3 before? Yeah. Okay, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, 3 minutes. And we're gonna stick to our 3-minute rule, okay? So that everyone have an opportunity to speak as well. Okay. I have here Elgin Rose.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? My name is Elgin Rose. I run an organization called Fathers to Founders. First, I want to say thank you to HSH, because I got my first capacity building grant this year. So I wanted to say special thanks for that. My question is, and my dilemma is, as an organization that serves probably 50 to 100 people, as homeless individuals and folks that's experiencing the same dilemmas but on a smaller scale, how would you advise my organization to gain action at participating more when a lot of the responses are the same old folks at the table? And being I'm asking is, there's a lot of challenges with building an organization and having access at the same resources and at the same decision-making tables, and capturing the moment when I'm seeing hundreds of folks daily and I don't have a voice to say that. What would you recommend as an organization just to fit in more and gain more opportunity, pending the opportunities right now?
Just a note to everyone, we are listening, we're taking notes.
Okay.
We'll follow up. We won't be able to answer questions tonight, but we certainly will take notes and make sure that we follow back up. Is that
Okay, so I'll end it with this. There's a lot of folks, like my office is on the 200 block of Eddy Street. Tons of folks on, it's beautification is always an option there with plants and things like that. But now the community members are there, and these are folks that I'm working with, and it gives me a lot of power to work with folks, and I don't necessarily have the strength because a lot of the times when they do come do the sweeps, it's the same folks, the same machine, and it's not like, hey, you guys are not here when I'm here 8 to 10 hours a day. So that's something that I would love to talk one-on-one with folks to figure out how to empower the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sure, you want to go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to take a moment and say that this is a formal meeting of the commission, and so we operate under the requirement that we cannot take action or engage if something's not on the agenda. So the format here is us listening, but there's a commitment from staff that are here and our director that will work on individual issues. So when we say we can't respond to that, I think that sounds bad, but honestly, it's really because of Robert's Rules of Order, sunshine in government, some good things that just require us, if we do not have something on an agenda, we cannot engage in it right here, right now, but we are very committed to responding.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is it Mile Noor?
It's actually Mike, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mike.
I want to start off by saying I moved to California about 40 years ago. When I moved here right out of college, I was homeless. I lived in my car. Part of my living was downtown. It used to be a Holiday Inn. Now it's a Marriott or something underground. I lived under there in my car. So I have a lot of compassion for the homeless people. My frustration is when I hear that out like on the Great Highway, they're going to be building condo units out there at 1.2 million with 7% interest and maintenance and stuff. We're talking 2 million per unit. And there's so many people in the city that need things. It's almost like a lotto ticket. It's like Willy Wonka. A few people, 100 people are going to get this Willy Wonka ticket to live in an amazing house looking out at the ocean every night, and yet that same unit isn't going to have any resources for them in terms of mental health, addiction, anything that they may need. That's not really part of the package. It's just getting the housing built. And so when I see so many people in the city so needy, and yet we're going to just glorify ourselves that we're building this wonderful housing for a few people, it's actually insulting to every person I see out on the streets. It's really insulting. And so I think we need to reevaluate it and go, do we really need to build that kind of housing when in reality we need more money for mental health, addiction, supportive services of various types, food, all sorts of stuff. And I've talked to Mayor Lurie about this, and I'm like, the city's looking at hiring all these cops at very high salaries. And I'm like, if 80% of the calls for the cops are for mental health, drug addiction, and other things, why aren't we instead hiring more mental health, addiction, people like that, actually using the money for the right type of people who can actually help those people out? Because if that many calls are not for really police-related issues, they don't have the skill set to even handle it. And instead of giving the cops $10,000 or whatever every year to reduce their student loans, give it to people that are in other professions, help them pay off their loans. So I just don't feel like the money's really being spent prudently to help as many people as possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Marcus Kelly. Skip it? Okay. If you would like to come up later, you feel free to. Flo Kelly.
First of all, I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate that we're having a meeting out in the community. This is great. I'm sorry. If we do this again, I'm going to make it a bigger point to get more people here. I just dragged one person here. We need a lot more. So I'm Flo Kelly with the End Poverty Toes Coalition. And I just want to say that people who live in their vehicles, like Armando, who you're going to hear next, most likely, they're being displaced terribly right now between MTA and our leaders, many of our leaders, not all of them. It feels like they just don't want any RVs parked anywhere in the city, unless it's the police command RV. So people are getting displaced crazy and getting towed. And I've gone out and talked a lot to people who live in the Bayview, in the Mission, and even on the western side of the city. And they're all getting displaced. It's very scary. And it's very difficult for people then to feel that it's okay for them to go to work or okay for them to go to their doctor, and because they don't feel when they come back that there's going to be any structure there that they left behind with all of their valuables in it. So since we have a huge issue with money, it seems to me that if somebody is already in their shelter and they consider it their home, why not just let them be there? And that's really what happens with people who live in their RVs. It's their home. And if it's taken away and they can't really retrieve it, then they're out on the sidewalk. So how is that helping? It's making things much worse. I think we really have to get on the bandwagon and make sure that RVs can stay. So RV dwellers have talked about how they really would like a safe place to park. And by a safe place, basically what they're saying is a place where I know I'm not going to get ticketed, because I got to eventually pay all the tickets in order to get my registration up to date, and everything falls apart. So.
Thank you, Flo.
Oh, really? Oh
yes.
My gosh, I guess I could
finish
talk
up your
10
thought.
minutes and it felt like 3. Wow.
Just please finish your thought if you had it.
Well, yeah, I'm just hoping. I know that very soon we're going to be making a really big ruckus about how people need to be able to stay in their RVs, and why not just let them stay where they are?
Thank you.
You know, and also we got to change our narrative. The leaders have, instead of putting down people, we got to talk in very positive terms.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that not so many 311 calls.
Armando Martinez.
Hi, I'm Armando Martinez, and I live in an RV. I purchased it about a year ago, year and a half, with my last savings because I didn't want to be homeless. And guess what? I am homeless. I'm considered homeless by the population, by the city, and so I consider it my home. I'll just pick up where Flo left off. I think I was shocked by the way that I get treated on the street. I went to UC Berkeley. I have a master's in international relations. I am a caregiver. I have a job. I go to work every day. and I don't feel that I have to put up with people coming by and taking pictures of my RV, looking inside my RV, the police threatening to take it away from me, the sweeps that come by, I have to run away from make sure I'm not there, and it doesn't make for a good night's sleep, to put it, mildly, and it's not the way of life that I thought it would be. I guess I was naive, to put it mildly. But I do think that we can change the narrative. I mean, it's very important for people like the commissioners and the directors, but not even just you guys. I think people who, ourselves, when we talk about each other, instead of saying those people, it's just we. It's pretty much we. Thank you.
Thank you. Sal Gasca.
Good evening, I'm Sal Gasca. Thank you for being here, and thank you for Glide for hosting us tonight. As someone who is formerly unhoused and on the streets of San Francisco, it could be very traumatizing for somebody who had a pretty good life and never really had to worry about shelter or food. But then coming to the city and going homeless and trying to make it out here was very difficult. And so finding housing eventually was great. But then the lack of services and the lack of support is what really drove me into harder drugs, because now I had a place where I can isolate myself and use. So it was very detrimental to my health. And so I just want to say this comment. As someone who works at the Healing Well, I witness every day how essential it is to treat unhoused individuals with dignity and compassion. Our space provides community mindfulness and healing, a sense of belonging that many of our participants have been denied elsewhere. I urge this commission to support services that not only provide shelter, but also foster healing, stability, and long-term well-being. Solutions rooted in empathy and community can break cycles of trauma and homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Sal. My good friend, Selena Lane.
Hello there. I was hoping we opened in prayer. I saw that agenda item number 3 was the department overview. Would that mean you all would answer questions for that agenda item?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The girl can dream.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm thinking of I'm going to start then with the non-financial components. I'm part of Faithful Fools. Our work here in the Tenderloin is now in its 27th year, and a large percentage of the way we engage in community is through arts, education, advocacy, and accompaniment. As we're doing this work, we are constantly reminding the folks who are unhoused on the streets or in a little kind of housed in a fragile space in the SROs, even the definition of homelessness. Like, they don't have the basic information, and I don't know how to get that information just to the community members of San Francisco. What we're also seeing when we engage with just a random door knock is that the folks who are not holding a lease, who are by definition unhoused, are also being considered invisible, and like their voices and their comments and what they need doesn't have a safe place to land. As I'm thinking about HSH specifically, I'm wondering how the supportive housing components can be dealt with a little bit more integrity, especially as it relates to those residents in the SROs. the conditions are deteriorating, and sometimes safety, they find more safety on the streets than they do in their own buildings. And many of the times when we try to mitigate, it's actually with the property management companies. So if there's a way for HSH to create a community initiative such as this, or a panel, or with the community organizations and residents of the Tenderloin, to be really transparent about how organizations like TNDC, THC, John Stewart, HomeRise are conducting barriers. They're making barriers for the folks who are in SROs to actually end up back on the streets. In the last year, I've had to work with a half a dozen or more of folks who has been threatened with eviction and have been evicted from SROs. And these are largely due to kind of what Sal mentioned about the deteriorating conditions that they're facing. And the property management companies are supposed to be providing social services within the buildings. And so it's almost like an oxymoron. They're not aiding the residents, and then they're displacing them. And so it's like a really toxic, revolving circle of deteriorating living in the Tenderloin for our residents. And my mom was out unhoused for 29 years on the streets here. And when I'm in her building, I am the one they call as a college-educated social service provider, and they still are like, I'm trying to explain the circumstances around even a single individual, and it gets a little bit more complex. So wherever we can advocate and hold each other, these programs accountable, and property management companies accountable, I think that would also contribute to the numbers that are affecting our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to note, if there's a desire to follow up, we have a piece of paper for folks to write their name and number so that we can follow back up with you. Zay, can't, yes.
Hello, everybody. Hello. This is I am the chair of the Shelter Monitoring Committee, but I'm not here in that capacity. I'm here in my capacity as a Quaker minister near 9th and Market, and we served as an interfaith winter shelter. That was the first time we had done that in March, and it took a lot of praying. We'll just call it that. It took a lot of praying to do that work. I'm here for two specific reasons. First, disproportionality, which was raised by the executive director, and second, technology. As regards disproportionality, one of my concerns is that I do not believe that there is a single city in the United States of America, San Francisco included, that has actually thought through the exits into police custody of African American or BIPOC persons. So what happens is that we have a very evolved standard of care framework, but as soon as the police are called and you're detained, none of that applies. So the problem is that if we're going to think through disproportionality, something we really have to grapple with is when a participant exits into police custody, does all that standard of care stuff go out the window? And that means, do we have to advise people of their Miranda rights before they talk to the police? Because now they're agitated, they're highly engaged in whatever just happened. And I was extremely concerned that in the reports that I read as to the shooting in January at one of the shelter providers, not only the first, but the last name of the participant involved was printed in the media without the benefit of being considered innocent until found otherwise. My cousin was similarly charged in New York City in 2012, and you can still look up that report 13 years later. So when we engage with the question of disproportionality, we have to really think through what are we doing with already excitable, traumatized participants when they exit into police custody. That's first. And then the second, as regards technology, I was just looking through, because for people like me, the data is just fantastic in the executive director's report. And I believe in March of this year, 76 people were transferred into shelter placements from the waiting list, while 409 were exited from the list without being placed. And I don't think that we've ever had a commission specifically on the question of technology for the first step of the pipeline. We're talking about flow and all these words that sound really great, but 0 to 1, we have an 80% failure rate. So you can send out all the outreach trucks that you want, but until you change that number, you're just going to keep replicating that outcome. So what can we do to design hardware? Is it RFID cards? What is it? And as a minister, it's very spiritually troubling to me because I sign people up for the shelter waitlist. And as the data says, the vast majority of the time, of course, you can't find them. They don't have an email, et cetera. So those two things, disproportionality, I know that we're working on it, but I just want to raise that because that report in January, those media reports were very troubling. And then as regards to the question of technology, we have some of the brightest minds in the country here building what? Candy Crush? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's use our minds to the question of the unhoused.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Okay. Cheryl. Shane. Oh, Cheryl. I was looking at you, but I just didn't.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Shanks, and so I have a couple of concerns and a question also. One of my biggest concerns for the unhoused people is to know that the whole shelter runaround thing is happening again, and that Lori's planning on building shelters with not long-term, well, long-term, but what's long-term, maybe 6 months, without really knowing about what the plans are for a pathway into permanent housing. And you know, that's a real big concern that's all, we've been doing that for a long, long time. We've been doing, and that hasn't worked. And still, I'm not, you know, for hearing a whole lot of talk about permanent housing being built or how people could access the permanent housing to the buildings that are already existing without any tenants living in them. And then, of course, I always want to talk about equity and fairness. So I'm a native San Franciscan, and I had to wait approximately 18 years to get a Section 8 voucher. And so where's the equity in that? What's the timeline? Is there a set timeline to placement, for people coming out of an SRO and off the street to in an SRO? Because if there's no pathway, as somebody else was saying, there's nowhere to go but back in the street, and then we start all over again. And so those are really big concerns. And so that's the question. How would you monitor that? How is there a way to monitor, to make sure that people do not have to wait 18 years to get permanent housing? And like I said, a pathway, including permanent housing and mental health. Got to be together. Can't be one without the other. So if we're going to put people in shelters without access to mental health, that you know, these are traumatized people, as I'm sure you know. I'm traumatized too. Yeah, I've been out there. And so, you know, that keeps people in housing. Because I tell you, when you get off the street and you go inside, at least I'll say for me, I couldn't sleep in my mother's house. I had to actually leave the house to go back out to the street to sleep until I guess you could call it, started working on my mental health and reprogramming my mind. So, you know, but that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
So please take a look at that. It's very serious.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mic drop. Junebug, Kaloha.
Good evening, my name is Junebug, and I'm with the Social Justice Academy with Glide. I'm also with Poor Magazine for Homefulness. I'm also with Parent Voices for Childcare. I'm also with NHEPC. I'm also a community health worker. But first and foremost, I'm also a child who went through homelessness at 8 years old. I'm born and raised here in San Francisco. And at 8 years old, I lost everything, including a home. And I remember coming to Glide as a child to get the support I needed to be housed. I'll never forget that night I slept outside. There was no shelter that night. There was not even a tent that night. And so I take this opportunity to talk about real solutions by people who have had real lived experience with homelessness. The reason why that happened to me in the 80s here in San Francisco was because of the Ellis Act evictions. So I just want to say, we want to talk about solutions tonight. We need to eliminate Ellis Act evictions. To think that it's okay to throw an 8-year-old to the streets is criminal. But yet today we have a war on the poor, and being outside, you're criminalized. And that is not a real solution. In the 80s, the money went into the shelter system, which is really a Band-Aid treatment, and it does not provide a real solution. So by the time I was 10 years old, I had already went through several shelters, and then after the shelter, my brother, my mom, and me lived in one room in a hotel here in San Francisco, and by that time, I was 10 years old. I went to school. If I could get to school, I missed some school because of that. And when I did go to school, I felt so ashamed for being poor and for being homeless. But today, it's the system that should be ashamed for creating that situation that I had to live through as a child. So when we talk about solutions we got more shelter beds coming, that is not a concrete solution. That is not a concrete solution. Navigation centers are not concrete solutions. They're actually concentration camps to house poor people. And the sweeps are not a solution either. They're just a way to keep criminalizing people and to incarcerate people. And it creates recidivism of homelessness because it's not real solutions. Another solution that could happen outside of eliminating Ellis Act evictions is actually making sure that when developers come into the city and they build housing, that the BMRs that they built in their building are permanent, not with an expiration date. So now today I stand before you at 48 years old, still living here in this city, and the only reason why I'm able to live in this city with my children is because I have Section 8. Just keeping Section 8 is a stressful, long process in itself, but because I was living in a BMR with an expiration date, it was going to expire this year, which would have caused displacement again, which would have caused my family to be homeless again. I had to fight to make it a permanent BMR. I shouldn't have to go through that either. We need permanent BMRs that are built. We need to also lower the rent rate. And I do want to say there is a solution that's in place, and I suggest you do your research. It's called homefulness. Homefulness. Poor Magazine, we've built 3 of them. We're housing families right now. Come talk to me if you want to build real concrete solutions. Because cribs going to concrete and putting families outside is not a solution.
Thank you, Junebug. Thank you so much. Next, we have Josh Donahoe.
Hello. I'm a survivor of homelessness. I was homeless for 10 years, and the programs that got me through, having access to clean needles and actually using you know, the way I was going to use. I was in a situation where I was going to use, and the programs that were available to me to be able to do that safely was very important to me. It also kept me alive. It kept me. I died many times. I owe my life to many of the programs that were out there that met me where I was at, which was under a bridge for many, many years, and didn't judge me when they came and showed up. I am now. I stay at Park Merced under, I believe it's kind of like Section 8, but it's San Francisco's version of it. I can't remember the name of it right now, but you know, it's a permanent subsidy, and the only way I can be able to afford living there. But I lived there with my daughter and my girl, and we were homeless together. And yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to say that like the things that are, you know, that get funding and everything, I would like to see more of the stuff that was like kind of in jeopardy right now to be maintained. One of the things that I actually very much thought was a beneficial thing to my existence was the fact that we had a safe injection site and a place to be able to do that safely. I felt that I was not judged there, and there were actually people there who cared about whether or not I survived. And also there were methods of getting into housing through that when it did exist. One thing I do not think that helped was the amount of policing and DPW sweeps that really destroyed a lot of my existence. You know, I was forced to be moved from my things on a regular basis, and it took away from my ability to actually like put myself in a position where I could actually do something more productive. I lost a lot of things. I lost a lot of my my humanity through all that fighting day in and day out with people getting threatened, not sure if I was going to be met with a cop that day, or if it was just going to be a team of guys who wanted to take my stuff and kick me out. And it just became the normal thing to be terrified, and that wasn't helpful. But there were like I said, there were other programs that helped me get through. Coalition on Homelessness really helped.
Thank you.
The different groups of people who came and actually fed us and helped get us through things.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Next, we have Apple. Apple Crunk. Is there an apple here? Oh, there. Thank you. Sorry.
Hi. My name is Apple. I am with the Social Justice Academy here at Glide, SF. I'm also here with my daughter and my husband. Thank you guys for putting up with the noise. And I really appreciate you being here to listen to our lived stories today. It's really important. I'm a person that have been on the streets of San Francisco on and off for about 18 years. And I want to highlight some of the programs that really saved my life. Perinatal stabilization was a huge one. When I was pregnant and unhoused, living on the side of the freeway with my daughter, unborn, and wanting to get clean but not knowing how, I had all my stuff washed away in a flood. And I finally got shelter after that storm, but I was so sick. And I was having prenatal complications, and I was throwing up blood off the side of the bed. And my perinatal support nurse, who I hadn't even met yet because I had missed my appointment, she called me. She asked me what was going on, whether I was okay, and I told her everything. And they brought me to the hospital, got me medically assisted treatment. I titrated, and I've been clean for over 2 years now. Thank you. Thank you. While I was on the street, the things that saved my life were access to safer injection supplies, because recovery does not happen overnight. It was a process, and I couldn't be forced into it. Nobody can be forced into it. But the reason I'm alive today is because of the Narcan, because I didn't contract diseases while I was out there, because people met me where I was at and supported me and didn't look down on me. I finally got clean and I finally got into, got into an apartment and got the support I needed because I was pregnant, and that's great. There's a lot of support in this city for pregnant people, but there's not enough for people who aren't. So I think that's really important too, and I think the dads who go into treatment don't have nearly as much support and ability to reunite with their children as the women do. So I want to bring that up. What else? I went through a bunch of sweeps while I was on the street. They're still going on today. They say that it's not important that it happened to me because I'm not homeless anymore, so I'm not going to be a victim of sweeps, but I could become homeless tomorrow. Who knows? Like, this is still happening to people. And I want to speak for the people who are outside right now losing everything they own. The people who are out there and disabled and told they have an hour to move or they're going to get arrested. And their stuff gets thrown away, whether they like it or not. The people that are told they can have shelter, if they come and they leave everything they have there, they get there and the doors aren't even open. So don't say that people are not accepting shelter when you don't have enough beds to offer in the first place.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Courtney.
Hello, my name is Courtney Ewing. I am a California State Certified Peer Support Specialist with RAMS. I was homeless for 2 years here in the city. I had a bad narrative written about me on the Clarity One system by a Hot Team Outreach member, and for that reason, I was denied housing for a long, long time. And it was only because I had people from the street medicine team who advocated that the notes that were written about me in the Clarity One system were rewritten because they were false, that I have a home today and was able to do the training and pass the courses and certifications that I needed to go out and help people on the streets. Had I not had advocates that had access to things that I didn't have access to, I would have never gotten a housing offer, period. Because I was deemed violent in the Clarity One system. So I just want to make people aware of the fact that anyone can write bad things about you in that system, and then you are not given housing offers. That's one. Number two, we need consistent access to psych meds, or this problem will not be solved. If people don't have consistent and easy access to their psych meds, they can't successfully keep their homes, whether they be shelter beds, whether they be travel trailers, whether they be transitional houses or hotels, and then into permanent housing. So, psych meds. Okay, we're avoiding the fact that people have mental health issues when we're looking at housing, and the two are intertwined. I think that we might be breaking some state disability laws by not letting people into housing because they're disabled, and we don't provide enough ADA rooms. That's against the law. So we might want to check into that as a city, because we are breaking state disability laws all over the place. There are also elderly, disabled people that are being removed from their housing to make room for other people. That's against the law, period. There's also now being used a system of how successful will you be when you get into these places? Otherwise, we're not going to give you a place. That's illegal. So I think that we should really take a second look at some of the things that are being allowed because someone else is going to at some point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lorenzo.
Good evening, Commissioners, and good evening, Director McSpadden. My name is Lorenzo Listana. I am the Director of the Filipino Community Development Corporation, FCDC. So I've lived here in the Tenderloin for 12 years with my kids. My kids grew up here. So I'm a immigrant from the Philippines, came here in 2005, my whole family. My kids grew up here. They went to school at the Mariac Academy during middle school, and they went to Sacred Heart, and they just walk all the time. You know, at the Mariac, so sometimes I go with them when they're in high school. When they miss the bus, they walk from Tenderloin going up to Sacred Heart Cathedral. So that's like 10 blocks. You know, or I don't know how many blocks. But now, 3 of my kids were already successful. They're professionals. One works for the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. One works in a bank. You know, it's like a software engineer there, and one is like an entrepreneur. So I have my daughter, who is now a youth commissioner representing District 6. Yeah, they're all successful, but they live here in the Tenderloin for a long time. And they're so proud of it. My daughter was like the valedictorian at Sacred Heart, and he was like saying to the whole Sacred Heart graduates, like, I've lived in the Tenderloin, I love the Tenderloin, I want to give back. Yeah. So in 2017, me and 18 of my friends who are social workers, you know, a couple of lawyers and organizers as well, and community leaders and tenant organizers formed the Filipino Community Development Corporation, FCDC. And one of the pillars when we started thinking about it, that what we should do to help, you know, address issues in San Francisco. And one of the pillars that we thought about is how can we help end homelessness? Because we've seen it, my kids seen it, like, you know, in the Tenderloin for, you know, until like they graduate from college. So this has been in, you know, this has been in the community for a long, long time. And we thought that we have this organization that we found, we have to focus on helping solve homelessness. So we created a program, it's called Urban Rest and Sleep Center. It came out from the urban rest staff from Seattle and Jacksonville, Florida, which is like so successful. But the only difference is that it has like a sleeping place in the evening. It's a 24-hour holistic, you know, we call it a community center for both house and unhoused. So it will have like, can I just finish like?
10 seconds.
Yeah, so it has like 5 programs. It will have like, it will be located in Soma. Before we targeted the 423rd, but we were not able to, you know, finish it. But I hope this is like my 3 asks. One is like,
thank you, sir.
There should be equity in homelessness, and the funding, you know, about, you know, solving homelessness should not stop. You know, we should not cut it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Demetria.
Hi, my name is Demetria. I work with the unhoused and people who use drugs and with harm reduction, and I feel my job is threatened, but that's okay. But I wanted to talk more about the leases that we're signing. We went from signing like 7-page lease to 47-page lease. And some people have like, literacy problems, and I was one of them. And so I think a lot of people are displaced because they don't know what they're signing. And I've never been unhoused, thank Jesus, but I have a lot of friends and family members who have. And like the young lady, Cheryl, who left, being a native from San Francisco, I feel like if you're born in this city, African American, it's not many of us left here, and we should get first priority on, because people are showing up from all over, being housed, and they just move out here. And I know it probably has some literacy literacy is probably a part of it, but us as black and brown people, we need to help each other to fill out these applications for our people, because they've been unhoused for a long time, and people are moving in these places, and they be nice places too, and they ain't been here a year, and so anyway, I just thought I would just share that. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay. We have Marcus. I know that you skipped. Do you still want to speak? Okay. Okay, no worries, no worries. We'd be happy to do that. Okay. Rebecca.
Thank you guys for doing this community meeting. It's really important. Just a couple of minutes to address, I think, put on two separate pairs of glasses. One, people have been talking about the essential supportive services that really are the foundation on which we can build the housing models on. And I know there hasn't been a lot of talk about the budget, right? But thankfully, we were holding our breath around HSH, and when they said, we're not gonna cut these essential supportive housing services, we were all like, because we're all living in a state of sort of fear and unknown about what budget impacts they're gonna have on the current sort of housing stock. But the other community-based services that exist have been deeply gutted. And I'm not coming up here to doom and gloom, but I do want us to have some foresight that if the essential supportive services don't exist, then it's perpetuating the problem if people are going into shelter or transitional and they don't have what they need to succeed. And a few people have talked about that sort of hamster wheel that I want us to sort of own. But other than that, I just want to name in this meeting that even though there's been some sort of promises, and we're hearing about Lori's sort of plan to expand shelter and make more beds available, that there's also this other part that's not being talked about the federal impacts that will affect the state, that will affect the city. And no one will tell you guys, but secretly everyone's whispering saying, it doesn't matter, we already know this budget is coming out and it's gonna be devastating, the city budget. But on top of that, there's deeper whispers saying, come December, there might be even more cuts. And so it's really when we're talking about how do we function and live and plan for expansion and try to be part of the solution to provide more housing services as a service provider, it's also there's this undercurrent of the commissions and the folks that have a voice there isn't any platform, like we know you can't predict or like promise that it's gonna be okay, but there isn't any conversation about, it doesn't feel secure. It doesn't feel safe. And in this city right now, we don't know where we're gonna be at on June 3rd or where we're gonna be at in the mid-year cuts, straight up. And it's really like hard because then there's all this talk about expansion and it's like, it's a juxtaposition that we're hearing that there is nothing, expect nothing, but there's gonna be more. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe I failed to recognize Liza. Is it Liza?
Good evening. Thank you for being here. Once again, it's a little old, so I want you to hear what I have to say. This started in 2014 when Department of Emergency Management gave you HSH. You've had 4 different plans of coordinated care since 2017. Pretty disgusting. You've increased mental health challenges and unhoused by 300%. From 2020, you have 31 million in case management ratio to client-centered care. Peer specialist, you don't have peer specialist. We're credentialed. I am a peer support specialist. You owe me $26. It's billable by Medi-Cal. You're not using it. You're putting in people that are doing systematic trauma. You then went to 32,000. I don't see the ratios. 34 million. I don't see the ratios. You're in violation of community-based organization contracts. You have so many contracts out there, my head is spinning. Look at the standards map of how much you touch people's lives and kill them. The eviction notices, when you're displacing people, please stop looking at the clock because I have my time. I got my numbers. And when you look at what you do to evictions, there's no affirmative action. Who wins? John Stewart, Connard, HomeRise. HomeRise is already under corruption. They didn't even get 2 years. What are we looking at here, folks? Where is your contracts, your metrics to case management ratio to client-centered care? You wouldn't be losing so many people to mental health conditions if you had supportive people in there. In 2008, I moved into my SRO. I had people that supported me. In 2014, I watched 52 people die because it went under HSH. I have somebody that's in a nursing home that they're evicting. Because why? Case manager doesn't have a clue how to do housing. Interesting, isn't it? But those are the people that you're contracting to put people into house. Then if they have a challenge, they lose their house. And then they go to the eviction collaboration, and the attorney cannot do anything affirmative. But in fact, the case manager's the one that screwed it up. So now you have them displaced with no mental health, and you have refused to put peer specialists into place. We're the 49th state to sign on to this. We are so far behind, and peer specialists are a warm handoff of lived experience experts that do not allow people to fall through the gaps. It's SB 803. I'd advise that you read it. Secondly, you're coming up with new beds. Can you tell me why they're being contracted out to a third party, Crestwood, that's in Northern California, and displacing more of Department of Public Health people?
Thank you.
And then not giving anybody peer specialists. So I'm hoping that the next meeting you come back, you can give us some metrics on your true case management ratio to client-centered care and wherein these funds went 31 million, 32 million, 34 million, and 37 million that you're claiming for case management ratios when you're displacing individuals.
Thank you
for your time.
Thank you. That wraps up our commenters. First of all, thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for giving voice to some of the challenges that you're facing. I've certainly written down your concerns, your questions. I'm sure my commissioners are also have written down, and some have expressed their availability to meet with you. We are at 7:23. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we need to leave at 7:50. This gives us opportunity for those who would like to come and speak with commissioners if they are willing to stay. Every one of them may not be, so those who are willing to stay, if you want to speak with us directly, you have that opportunity until 7:50. And so I do want to shout out Bridget and Shannon, who have done some hard work in making this work out. So thank you all, thank you both for providing that. Sure, sure. And as the vice chair's reminded me, we meet every first Thursdays, beginning at 9 o'clock at City Hall. Our next meeting will be June 5th. We will recess July, and we will pick back up in August. And so just to be mindful that you have the opportunity to come and provide public comment during those times. And then we also have this information card, which gives you contact information for resources that you may need. This can be a first step, but this is also an opportunity for you all to come at this time, and if you want to have direct conversation with folks, you can. So thank you again for your time. Thank you again, Glide, for giving us the opportunity to share in your space. And everyone have a great night.